Welcome to the Investors Trading Academy event of the week. Each week our staff of analysts and educators tries to provide you a better understanding of a major market event scheduled soon, and that will have an effect on the global markets. President Barack Obama arrived in Havana on Sunday on some historic visit, rich in symbolism and defined by high expectations for a new era of U.S Cuban relations after decades of Cold War hostilities between the two countries. Air Force One touched down at Havana's Jose Marti International Airport after 4 p.m. Eastern Time. The president and his family plan to spend 2.5 days in Havana, leaving Tuesday afternoon for a stop in Argentina. Obama held an umbrella as he descended the steps from Air Force One with Mrs. Obama into the rainy Cuban afternoon. He was greeted by Cuba's foreign minister and other top Cuban diplomats, along with the ranking U.S diplomat in Havana, as the U.S eases its commerce and travel restrictions in Cuba, with President Obama calling for an end to the embargo now in its 6th decade. Hundreds of airlines, hotel chains and telecommunication firms and other companies are jostling for a piece of the pie. 13 U.S airlines have applied for permission from the Department of Transportation to provide direct flights to Havana, and Connecticut-based Starwood Hotels and Resorts recently announced a contract to manage several hotels owned by the Cuban government. Carnival is already selling tickets for cruises that will dock in the Cuban ports later this year, and Google is expected to announce plans to expand internet access in Cuba. Making the rounds in Havana this week were the chief executives of PayPal, which hopes to launch an online remittance service in Cuba, and Airbnb, which already offers 4,000 rental properties on the island. And then there was singer and businessman Jimmy Buffett rubbing elbows at the cocktail reception with the top White House advisors. He is said to be exploring the possibility of bringing his Margaretville restaurant chain here. While the U.S. Treasury and Commerce Department have made a series of regulatory changes, eliminating certain restrictions on remittances, facilitating trade in the telecommunication and agriculture sectors, and allowing some U.S. companies to establish a physical presence on the island, most U.S. firms are still not allowed to invest in Cuba. If the embargo is lifted, U.S. companies will have to play catch-up with investors from Europe and Latin America, who have been operating in Cuba for decades and supply food, electronic appliances and other basic goods sold in government stores. Most Cubans live off government salaries of around $25 a month and are accustomed to limits on what they can buy, whether it's fish or potatoes.